So today's class is on forearms and hands, and my focus with that is I've been using mine a lot, and they've been a little sore and achy. If you happen to have some lotion handy, you're welcome to use it. About partway through, we'll do that. So as I said, we're going to be working on forearms and hands today, and I'm sure all of us have been using them a lot. So first technique we're going to do, I'm going to push this down a little bit so you can see. We're going to just start with a grasping down the whole arm from the upper arm down into the hand. So just a kind of milking motion. And you can do the flexor side. Just getting a little blood circulation started into this area. Good. The next thing we're going to do is a little bit of skin rolling. So that means lifting a fold of the skin and, let's see if I can show it very well, rolling it along. So I'm not demonstrating very well, but there we go. So I'm going across the forearm with this in strips. And if some places are really tight, you can just kind of hold them and give a little shake, shake, shake with that. And you want to get all the way up around the elbow. Because of course, knowing our anatomy, all of the muscle bellies for the hand and fingers are up here in the forearm. We just have tendon going through the carpal tunnel into the hand. So major muscles are going to be in this area and they attach above and below the elbow. So we want to work this area to loosen the superficial fascia. So you can use fingers, you can use your whole hand, and just kind of loosen that fascia a little bit. And you can even do the side a little bit of the forearm. And you can even do the flexor surface a little bit too. You can also do skin rolling longitudinally. You probably are going to get less skin this way, but you certainly can try it and see how that goes. All right, so then we're going to do a connective tissue technique above and below the elbow. So connective tissue is a hook. Let me turn this so you can see better. A hook and a drag. A hook and a drag. And it's a short drag, really short, like an inch at the very most. So the skin rolling may have had a slight scratchy, burny sensation. This will as well. This is also a connective tissue technique working with the fascia. So I'm using the crease of the elbow here as my landmark, and I'm hooking at it and then dragging the fascia just slightly. And this is to address all those attachments just below the elbow. I'm going to do the same thing using my fingers above the elbow. So again, using the crease as my landmark, hooking and dragging, hooking and dragging, hooking, dragging. Okay. So you want to create a histamine response. As you can see, the skin is starting to turn a little pink. And that's exactly what we want to do. That flush means that blood is rushing into that area. And that's exactly what we want to create. So you're going to go, probably about 3 or 4 passes along that whole line. So can you see how above and below the elbow is getting a little pinker there? Good. So we did that around the elbow. We're going to also do that around the wrist. So for the wrist, the easiest way to work on it yourself is to bend the wrist up, hook, and then as you bend the wrist down, you drag across. And what we're dragging across is the retinaculum that goes around this wrist joint. So bend the wrist up. I'm trying to get a good view here for you. And then as the wrist bends down, you drag across. So you hook and hook right at the crease of the wrist there, and then drag it across. Hook and drag. And again, you want to cover as much of the wrist as possible. So you can do the side of the wrist. So now I'm bending it this way. You can do the flexor surface of the wrist. And again, what you want to do is create a little histamine response there as you drag across the retinaculum. So again, 3 or 4 passes around the whole length of this, just in little tiny hook and drag strips. See if you can see it better this way. There we go. Excellent. So that's loosening up all the fascia right around the wrist joint, and we've loosened the fascia around the elbow joint. Now, I suggest if you have a surface you can lay your arm on, that's going to be most helpful, because our next thing we're going to do is a deep tissue sculpting technique down the length of the forearm. We're going to go right in between the ulna and the radius, in that groove between those two bones. So it depends on your own body mechanics, what's easiest for you. You can go down or you can go up. So it depends kind of on what you want to do. Possible tools are edge of fingertip, thumb, although I am hesitant to tax my thumb too much, or even a knuckle. So any of those techniques. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to sink and melt. So letting the tissue give, gradually sinking through the layers, starting at 0, and gradually adding pressure. So the way to add pressure here is push into, if you're sitting, your sit bones, if you're standing, your feet, and push down into your arm. My elbow is up high, and that's going to add pressure. So you don't want to use your arm strength to muscle in. You want to lean in some way and use your body weight. And then as you sink and melt, you'll get to a place where it feels like the tissue is starting to pull you along. You're going to follow that pull. You're not going to push it. You're going to wait for it to open. It's almost like a zipper opening, and you're following that opening. So it may take some minutes for this muscle tissue and fascia to start to melt and soften and spread and open. And so you're going to just follow that. Nice and slow and easy. Everybody's tissue is going to go at a different pace. You want to use the bony landmarks. Stay in that groove. If you come to a place that's sensitive to the touch, painful, back off a little bit, or just pause and wait for it to soften, melt, and the pain to dissipate. You don't want to work beyond that pleasure pain border. Stay in that place. Go very slowly, melting, oozing your way through the tissue, all the way up till you get to the elbow. Nice. Good. Slowly ooze out. When you get to the elbow, you're on bone usually, so you're kind of pushed out. We're going to do the same thing on the flexor surface. Again, depending on your body mechanics, will depend on whether you're going to go from the elbow down to the wrist or from the wrist up to the elbow. Up to you what feels better for you. Here you can use soft fist, you can use fingertips, you can use a flat thumb. Again, that's kind of taxing on the thumb, so I don't usually recommend that. So sink and melt into the tissue. Vectors first straight down into the tissue, and then you're going to slowly get pulled along. Deep tissue work is very slow. In fact, the deeper you are, the slower you need to go. Breathing. It is sometimes a challenge to be both the giver and the receiver when you're practicing self-massage. What do you pay attention to? What you're feeling as the giver, or what you're experiencing as the recipient. So play with that gauge back and forth between those two roles. And make sure you're always in the comfort zone, comfortable for your body as the giver, not muscling, but leaning, and comfortable for the amount of pressure you're receiving as the recipient. And you're just going to go all the way to the wrist and then slowly come out. Good. All right. So checking how your hand feels, your forearm feels, noticing, maybe comparing the two arms for the moment. We're going to go in to work on the hand a little bit. We're going to start with just some pinching on either side of each of the digits. So you're going to do the sides and you're going to do top and bottom. And this is just a pinch across. And then when you get to the nail bed, I'm going to invite you to squeeze at that nail bed and then twist. Can you see how I'm twisting the digit and getting a little circulation movement there? Okay. So we're going to go down the sides of each digit and top and bottom or front and back of each digit. And then we're going to squeeze at the nail bed and turn or twist. You see what's happening there? There we go. That's a pretty good view. Good. So next digit, we're going to squeeze, pinch, and then rotate that digit. Same thing. Squeeze, pinch, and rotate that digit. Nice. Last one on this side. Good. Then we're going to go ahead and do that same sink and melt deep tissue compression in between the bones of the metacarpals, okay? So here, one finger or two fingers. Again, you're going to lean into it and ooze down the length of it. Not very long, shouldn't take too long. There's not a lot of depth you can get here. You feel the bones right away. Good. Then on the palmar surface, we're going to just do some of the pressure points. So circling right where your lifeline crisscrosses here. Good. And right in the middle of the palm and right above it. These are the same 3 points if you've taken circulatory massage that you hit during that. Good. These are actually circulation points. Okay. So we've kind of worked, you can just work down the palm a little bit here, kind of pushing motion, like a stripping motion. Good. So now we're going to do a little bit of tapping. We're going to start with this space between the thumb and the forefinger and the soft tissue here. And we're just going to use our opposite hand to tap against it. And we're going to do the fingers all at once, but you can do them individually. And then we're going to bounce the wrists against each other and just go all around the wrist. And then all the way up the forearm to the elbow and back down. A little percussion, but I'm using the hard edge or even the pisiform of my other hand on that. A little percussion, a little bouncing. Remember, floppy wrists when we're doing percussion. Shouldn't be a locked wrist, not hammering, drumming. Good. All right. So shake that hand out. I'm going to ask you to bring your fingertips together and circle the wrists around each direction. And then stretch forward and then stretch up. And in fact, we'll stretch the whole wrist and each of the fingers. Good. And the thumb. And the whole thing again. Now at this point, if you have a little bit of lotion, what you can do is spread some lotion on your forearm and just do some forearm stripping. So we've loosened up the superficial fascia with the connective tissue techniques and the skin rolling techniques. We've done some percussion. We've done some deep tissue sculpting, getting into the depths of the superficial fascia and the fascia surrounding the muscles. And now we're just going to use a circulatory flushing type of technique, this stripping stroke, to help move the blood out of that area. We increase the blood flow to the area with those techniques. And then we want to just get that blood circulating, okay? So place your arms on the table, and what do you notice? Do they feel different? What is that? There's a fly. How interesting is that? Okay. How's that feel? Ready to do the other side? The other side probably needs it a lot. This one feels soft. It feels kind of floaty, actually, for me. That's what I noticed. All right, let's do the other side. We'll start with that skin rolling. Good. And remember, if there's any places that feel like they're just not rolling, you can just kind of hold and do a little shake, shake. And that sometimes will help to stretch that superficial fascia a little better. Good. All right. Nice. And you can get the flexor surface as well as the extensor surface. Good. You can also do longitudinal skin rolling down the length, getting along the bone. And you can do the flexor surface as well. Again, the flexor surface might be a little stickier. Most of us use the flexor surface a little more than the extensor surface for a lot of the activities we're doing with our fingers. So loosening that up. Good. And then starting at the elbow, we're going to hook and drag, hook and drag, hook and drag, hook and drag all around where the forearm meets the elbow. Maybe 3 or 4 passes across. We are going to kind of stay out of this kind of eye of the elbow. So you can go all around it. That area's got a lot of lymph nodes and blood vessels, and we just tend to be a little more cautious with where we're working in that area. Good. Hook and drag, hook and drag, hook and drag, and then fingertips to hook and drag up. Ooh, I can feel that. So this is also the area biceps comes through here. There's a thick aponeurosis there for the biceps to attach to. So if you're using your forearm and your biceps, triceps, you're going to feel this when you do it for sure. It's going to help that. You know, I think we forgot to grasp to get the blood circulation there started. So let's do a little of that. There we go. And if you need a little bit more hook and drag, you can do that. Good. Nice. All right. So we hook and drag both above and below the elbow. We're going to come to the wrist, and we'll hook and drag across that retinaculum. You want to work all the way along, even on the side of the hand. Remember, the movement of your wrist, the movement of your hand is what gives you the leverage so that you don't have to do any effort. So you just hook your finger there, the wrist is up, and then as you push it down, it goes across. It's a mechanical thing, not an effort thing. Good. Good. Nice. All right. So again, try to do 3 or 4 passes all the way around. They're very short little strokes, but they really loosen up the fascia that surrounds that joint. Good. Then depending on your vector, you can go down, you can go up. I find going up is a little easier. I'm going to use Knuckle this time just to have a different tool that I'm demonstrating. You're going right in between the ulna and the radius. So sinking and melting. Remember, you get more pressure by leaning on it. So find a way to either push into your sit bones if you're sitting, or to be standing and push into the earth and lean on it. Nice. Good. Right in between the ulna and the radius, all the way up to the elbow. Whew, that was great. All right, let's go down the forearm. I'm going to use heel of hand this time. Just demonstrating some different tools. You're welcome to use the same tool because you're using a different hand, obviously. Deep tissue sculpt down the flexor surface of the forearm. You may notice the fingers start to curl naturally as you hit those tendons that they're attached to. Excellent. All right. Almost down to the wrist. Now, could you do the edges? You sure could. If you feel like the tension's on the edges there, take time to do an extra pass on those edges, but usually flexor surface, extensor surface is sufficient for that. All right, so we're gonna work each of the fingers now. So starting with the thumb, sides and top and bottom, and then rotate. Sides, top and bottom, rotate. Sides, top and bottom, rotate. Sides, top and bottom, rotate. And last is sides, top and bottom, and rotate. Good. We're going to work in between the bones here on the metacarpals. Nice. And on the palmar surface, you can just do a little stroking, but we're going to do circles of the points. Circle each of these points. And then if you want to do some stroking down the whole palmar surface to kind of open that up. Good. And then we'll do the percussion again. So getting that area between the thumb and the forefinger, getting each of the fingers. So if you were the recipient on that side, now be the recipient on this side. Yeah. Just working that fascia in the webbing of the fingers and thumb. And then percussion along the wrist. And again, if there's any places that feel like you need to hang out there and spend a little bit more time there, go for it. Take the time. Listen to your body. Notice how it's feeling. Pay attention. Where does it feel really good? Where maybe there's some tender spots that need some more attention. Excellent. All right. Go ahead and grab a little lotion if you have it. And we'll put some on there. And then we'll do a nice stripping stroke. So a stripping stroke, your hand is like a letter C. And it just makes like a C clamp around the tissue. And then you just push. And because we're wanting to recirculate the circulation, we want to send that blood flow back up towards the heart to get recirculated. Yeah. If it feels like the hand needs a little lotion, a little massage movement, I'm using heel of hand on the back of my hand here, circular motion, and then forearm stripping, forearm stripping. Good. And the other thing that sometimes feels good is kind of a ringing motion. Obviously, when you're doing it on yourself, you can only do a one-handed ring, but sometimes that will feel good, followed by a couple more forearm stripping strokes. Good. All right, let's rub our palms together. Let's bring our hands down, circle the wrists again. All the fingers touching. This connects all of the acupuncture meridians in the hand that end there. Good. And then down, and then stretching the wrist and each of the fingers. Nice. And whole hand again. Rub those hands together, shake them out, and notice, how do they feel? Do you feel the energy? Do you feel circulation? Do they feel warm? Do they feel lighter? Hope that helped. You can go ahead and unmute if you'd like.
Yeah, it feels nice. Yeah.
Good.
Lighter.
This is a great little repertoire to do when and if you do start going back to giving body work, or if you're using your hands a lot for anything, if you're on the computer a lot, sewing, knitting, crocheting, anything that is that fine motor skills with the fingertips, this can be really relieving for that work and really helpful. I used to, when I was doing body work, do some of this on my way home in the car, just at a traffic signal while I'm waiting there. Start with some of the skin rolling and shaking just to loosen that up, and a little of the forearm stripping. The whole treatment's quite nice. Hope you enjoyed that.